Alrighty, cherubs. So today we're going to be talking about Hinduism, and this is how we're going to wrap up Central and Western Asia. Is here in India. So here we go. So we've got the video clips, like always, and same as always, it's going to help you to understand what's happening. Before we move on, make sure that you hit the quiz on last time's pieces, the luxury goods for Islam. Go ahead and take that quiz. And today's theme is going to be follow your Dharma. So in your notebook at the beginning, go ahead and write in follow your Dharma under India. Okay. And we've got three pieces to discuss today. We've got a statue and two temples. All right. Again, there are video clips to watch. Now, I really would recommend watching these. Hinduism is not anything like Christianity or the Abrahamic religions. It's really, really not. We've got a completely different aesthetic happening here. It's very, very different to us in the West. So I highly recommend that you watch the video clips, especially about Hinduism, so that you can understand a little bit better what's going on. Now, I remember one of my friends in high school, Ami Dalal, her family was from India, and she was a practicing Hindu. And as high schoolers, we went we were nerds, so we went to the Philadelphia Museum on a Saturday, the Museum of Art, just to check it out. And when we were going through like the medieval stuff, and she was like, "Okay, who's this? Who is this in this picture?" We're like, "Jesus?" Or Mary. She's like, okay. And it was just interesting because then when we got to the India section and we're looking at the Indian art, we were like, okay, what's going on here? And she's just like, oh, this is this deity, and this is this person, and this is the story, and this is how they connect, and da 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 da. And it was just interesting to be, and that was the first time we really had a discussion about different artistic iconographic traditions with another person. It was really interesting to understand that different people have different traditions iconographically and are going to understand symbols differently based on where they are from the world. And so that's my long way of saying watch the video clips so you can understand a little bit better the iconography that you're going to be seeing here today. All right. John Green will give us some more information on Hinduism, so go ahead and give that a watch. Now, Hinduism, it's important to understand there's not... Okay, so Christianity, we know that comes in a bunch of different flavors. There's the Orthodox and flavors, and then there's the Protestant flavors of Christianity. That Islam comes in Shia and Sunni, and then a whole bunch of different types from there. Hinduism, similarly, there's a multiplicity of types. All right, so there's not just one Hinduism, and it's not just following the one sacred text, and it's not just worshiping one god. There's a multiplicity of gods and subgroups. Okay, so Hinduism is used to describe the religions and philosophies. It's not even necessarily a religion, the philosophies as well of Hindustan, which is India. All right, so there's going to be a multiplicity of expressions of the divine. The Vedas are poems that are generally looked to as sacred texts and the oldest scripture of Hinduism. Okay. Orthodox Hindus are going to look back towards the caste system, a hierarchical social stratification. And Hindus live a good life through prayer, good deeds, and devotion, just like all religious groups. Right? Now, there's a couple terms that you need to understand: dharma, karma, and samsara. So let's grab a pen here. The first one is karma. Karma is going to mean your actions, okay, your deeds. And it's going to come back, and we're pretty familiar with the concept of karma, that do good and it's going to come back to bless you. Do bad and it's going to come back to haunt you, okay? In Hinduism, the idea is that you're going to have to pay for your misdeeds by samsara. Okay, there's the samsara is the cycle, and we'll see this on the next slide. Samsara is the cycle of rebirth and reincarnation, and you have to have good karma so that you can you want to break the wheel of samsara. Okay, you want to get off the wheel of reincarnation. The idea is that creation started as a unified whole and then shatters into a multiplicity of expressions and forms. You want to break, as you break the wheel of reincarnation, as you break samsara, and as you achieve moksha, breaking the wheel, getting off the wheel of reincarnation, you rejoin the cosmic oneness. You lose your individuality and become part of the grand oneness of the universe. So it's the complete opposite, really, in some ways, of Christianity, where you maintain your individuality and you maintain that identity throughout eternal life. Whereas you want to rejoin the cosmic oneness. All right. So that was what karma and samsara are. Karma, again, being your good deeds, will help you build up enough goodness to break samsara, to achieve moksha, which is the breaking of the wheel, getting off the wheel of reincarnation. Now, dharma is what you're supposed to do to achieve that, depending on where you're born and where in society you're born. That's the job that you have to fulfill to get good karma. Okay? It's the best way to live. Perfect. And here we go. There we go. So here we go. Samsara is rebirth, moksha, again. In Buddhism, it's called nirvana, and you've probably heard that before, breaking the wheel of reincarnation. Okay? Now, the gods. There are a multiplicity of deities in Hinduism. And just because you're a Hindu doesn't mean you worship all the gods. Okay? Generally, people have one that they are drawn to. All right? And it's very likely that you could be drawn to just one aspect of that deity. So you notice that the deity, so we've got Brahma, who's the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And destroyer, we understand in the West to be a negative connotation, but it's not. It's like the setting sun, or the finisher, I guess, would be a better way to describe it. The setting sun, or the completion of a book, or a wildfire from which new life begins. Okay, it's not bad. Okay, she was not bad. And you notice that, of course, in Hindu iconography, the gods have multiple faces, multiple heads, and multiple arms. And the reason for that is that the gods are unlike anything on earth. And so to understand them, and they'll freely admit this, and there's a video clip later on in which they talk about this, to be able to understand the gods, we humans create the gods in our image. Okay? So that just so we can conceptualize them, because they're unlike anything on earth. And so then to give them multiple faces, multiple arms, okay, allows us to understand that these beings are not human. Okay, it's a visual reminder that they're not human, that they're superhuman, they're beyond human. Okay. Other deities, we've got Durga, who's an aspect of Parvati. Parvati is the wife of Shiva. We've got Ganesha, the elephant-headed god. He's the son of Shiva and Parvati. Okay, and so the gods, again, all of these statues are at the Utah Museum of Fine Art at the University of Utah. So we took those photographs to include here. But yeah. Okay, now the gods, like I mentioned, have different aspects. And that means that they have different types or different parts of their personality which are available to be worshipped. Okay. It's like a gemstone has different facets. All right. And as you turn it, each facet will catch the light in its turn. All right. And that you're looking at that one facet that sparkles and catches the light. And as you turn it, that doesn't mean any of the other facets disappear or any of the other facets are less valid. It just means that that's the one you're looking at. Okay? Or think of it this way. Now, you know me as Mr. Eberly, okay, the teacher. But I've got different aspects to my personality. I've got different aspects to me that you may not even know about. So, for example, there's teacher me, okay? That's the one that you're most familiar with. But there's also husband me. There's foodie me. Let me move this. There's dad me, all right? There's scary guy who likes scary movies. That's me. There's artist me. There's me living, trying to get through this year of 2020. Okay, so this dumpster fire that is 2020. So there's all these different aspects of me that you can know, but it depends on which one you want to interact with. Okay? And some of these, husband me, you're not going to be able to interact with husband me because you're not married to me. Or dad me, you can't interact with dad me because you're not my child. Does that make sense? There's different aspects of me, there's different aspects of the gods, and those different aspects you can be drawn to or appreciate more than another, and that doesn't deny their infinite different aspects. Okay? So again, you can pick one aspect, and some Hindus worship one aspect of one deity, and that's what they worship. And that's okay. Here's that video clip that I mentioned previously about having multiple arms and faces. Go ahead and give it a watch if you want a better understanding. Oops.
Where do they?
Okay. Now, Hindu sculpture, again, is going to be, you need to know that it's integrated as part of the architecture. It's generally not going to exist by itself, but it's going to be incorporated into the architecture. So much so that architecture can be understood to be a giant sculpture, which is really cool. Now, here's one thing that you need to know about Hindu sculptures. That they are going to, let me grab the pen tool here, that they are going to often, the statues that you're going to see on a Hindu temple are often going to engage in sex. And this scandalized the Europeans. When the Europeans came into the Indian subcontinent in the 19th century, they were mortified that there were statues on temples that depicted sex. Now, the reason for this is that it's going to be about love. It's going to be about union. Remember the idea that you're trying to achieve moksha. You're trying to achieve union with the divine, that your identity is subsumed in the divine oneness. Okay? That gets visualized iconographically through sex. All right. So it's not about being lewd. It's not about being promiscuous. It's not about being um, disgusting. It's about achieving oneness with the divine. That's what the sculptures are about. Okay. So, and that's what the Europeans didn't understand when they came and saw um, this art and architecture. Their minds were like, whoa, this is dirty. We can't look at this. This is pornographic. No, that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. It's about achieving oneness with the gods. Okay. So much so that the reason why the Indian structure that you know is the Taj Mahal, it's a Muslim building. And the reason why you know it is because the Europeans later said, when they wrote up guidebooks to other Europeans, hey, if you're coming to India, you got to see these. They very purposely left off the Hindu temples because they thought they were scandalous. They're like, oh, but you can come see this other thing. You can see the Taj Mahal because that's not scandalous. Oh, that's just Islam. We know about that. Okay. Dance is often depicted in their sculptures. So you're going to see a lot of like very curvy, very organic lines, not anything really blocky or solid or like archaic or Egyptian, nothing like that. You're going to see things that are very flowy and very freeform and organic. Look for those when we get into these things. Now, inside a temple, you're going to be seeing there's going to be a god in residence. There's going to be a statue in residence, and it's going to get decorated and fed and dressed like a king. Okay. And that may seem odd if it's outside of your tradition, but I've also seen in South America, when I used to live in Argentina, there would be in, like the town square, occasionally there would be occasionally there would be a statue in a box of the Virgin Mary, and people would change her clothes and place different flowers in there and different candles and different offerings, etc. It's the exact same thing. Okay, it's the exact same thing. Paying attention to the divine. Now, when you worship the God in residence, you see them and their eyes are open and they see you back. It's giving and receiving darshan. It's called giving or taking, giving or receiving darshan. Okay, and that's how you worship, is through your eyes, through the seeing of them. Okay. And let me get rid of those. Perfect. Okay, so our first piece is going to be here in India. Actually, most of our pieces are going to be here in India. All right. And our first piece, now this is Shiva Nataraja, Shiva as Lord of the Dance. And you can see here that we've got this flame, okay, this circle that surrounds the god, and it's this flame, and there's little fires coming off it. It's a wheel of fire. You see the god dancing, okay? Now, his different hand positions are symbolic. Those are important, and those are called mudras. Okay, we're going to see this again with Buddhism, that the hand positions are symbolic. They're not just randomly placed. They are symbolic, and they're called mudras, and they mean different things. You can see that Shiva's hair flies back wildly in the vigor of his dance, that they're dreadlocks, okay? And those dreadlocks terminate in cobras. Okay, so again, he's not human, he's divine. And he is dancing upon a small, it looks like a person, okay? This is a dwarf that represents ignorance. So Shiva dances, destroys ignorance, and spreads light and life throughout the world. All right? Which is kind of cool. Now you're going to see this one that we're looking at is coming from the Chola dynasty in India and is from 1000 CE, and it's cast bronze. Now, this is not the only statue of Shiva Nataraja. You can go to the store and buy your own. You can see the one at the Museum of Fine Art at the University of Utah has an example. Many major museums are going to have an example of a Shiva Nataraja. Okay, so this is not the only one. There are many versions of this statue. Okay, I have one in the classroom here. It's a little miniature that I bought in Seattle. Again, this particular one, cast bronze, Shiva Nataraja from the Chola dynasty. All right. So he's got this epicene quality, which means if you look back at his face, he's not emoting very strongly. It's very peaceful. It's a very calm effect that he's emoting. It's not strong or harsh emotions. Again, very sinuous lines. If you take a look at the leg and the movement and the bent knees, you've got these very sinuous lines here. These very, here, let me show you. These very curvy lines being accented through the sculpture. So again, very organic, nothing blocky or chunky about Indian sculpture, none at all. Okay. Shiva periodically destroys the universe so it can begin anew, like a forest fire. Okay. So again, the original setting for this particular statue, we're not sure, but it was designed to be portable. All right. At the University of Utah, there are these lintels which depict the marriage of Shiva and Parvati. And I throw these in here so you can see kind of the multiplicity. Again, multiplicity is kind of the name of the game in Hindu art, where you've got lots of imagery thrown at you all at once and horror vacui a go-go. So you can see these images, and there's me with my camera, but you can see again the multiplicity of figures, of movement. There's Ganesha. Okay, and look at how the figures dance and how they move and the line quality in these. And this is carved wood. This is one piece of carved wood. This is astonishing. Okay. Now, Hindu architecture is not for congregational worship. It's the residence of a god. So, and again, the architecture is going to be a massive sculpture. Inside, there's going to be room for a few worshipers at a time. You're not meant to, again, gather a whole bunch of people and have a service there. You are going to be able to circumambulate. You go around the outside of the structure and look at the sculptures, and then you go inside and circumambulate as well. Now, there inside, there is going to be a room, a chamber called the Garbha Griha, or the Holy of Holies. And that room is going to house the god, okay? The statue of the god. It's got thick walls. Those are going to protect the deity. And they're generally going to be part of a temple complex. It's not just going to be the temple out by itself. It's going to be a part of a temple complex. They're also going to prefer a corbelled arch. Okay. Now, Hindu architecture is meant to resemble, especially in the north, the northern Nagara style we're going to see here, is going to be meant to look like a cave. Okay. Let's take a look. Okay. So you can see here the Nagara style. They're going to emphasize verticality. You can see from the floor plan that it's got a couple transepts, all right, and that you circumambulate, and that you circumambulate, and then you walk inside, and you circumambulate. Then you wind up in the Garagriba, the Holy of Holies, okay, the navel room. Now, if you check out the profile of the building, it's supposed to look like a mountain, okay? And the entrance, we'll see another photos here in just a second, is supposed to look like a cave, like you're walking into the holy mountain, into the cave. Now, the Mount Meru is the side of the gods, the house of the gods. It's like Mount Olympus, and on which the gods live. And so the temple becomes a miniature of the sacred mountain. So it's an axis mundi. Go ahead and give the video about the Hindu temple a little watch. Okay. Now, Hindu temples generally are going to be brightly painted. And so if you can see, the ancient temples are going to be bare. They're going to be sandstone colored. But the modern active temples are going to be an explosion of color. So this gives you a sense of what is happening anciently, that you're going to see so many colors, and again, this horror vacui. Now, the corbelled arch and the corbelled dome, you can see a little bit here in that it's not going to be this true or rounded arch. It's going to be like it's made out of Legos. So you have, if you try to build an archway out of Legos, unless you've got the special round pieces, you can't do it. So it's like a layer, and then the next layer, and then the next layer, and then the next layer. So it steps up to make this arch and these domes. That's what the corbelled dome and arch is going to be. So here's another example, okay, where you have a circled and a circle and a circle. So it's going to be up like that rather than this perfectly smooth dome. And it's going to give you this kind of rougher appearance, which they're going to prefer because it kind of looks like a cave. This is the corbelled dome made out of books, which is just kind of cool. Okay, so here in India, we've got the Lakshmana Temple in Khajuraho. Okay, and you can see it again. You can see the people standing against it. So it is a tall structure, not the tallest structures we've seen so far this year, but a tall, big structure nonetheless. You can see the corbelled domes, these kind of beehive-shaped domes. Sitting on top, you can see how, again, it is encrusted with statues. You can see how you're supposed to, it's on a raised platform, you're supposed to circumambulate and then go inside and circumambulate and wind up in the Holy of Holies to see the god in residence. Okay? It becomes a mountain and a cave. All right? It's both a mountain and a cave. And this is also very important, that symbolically it is also it's a mountain and it's a cave, but then it's also simultaneously male and female. Okay? That it's male and female. And the reason for that is that it's combining, again, it's that sacred union of everything, of gender, of mortal and divine. Okay? So just keep that in the back of your head, that we've got very active male and female qualities of this building. It is an axis mundi. It does represent the meeting place of heaven and earth. All right, so here's a floor plan of the Lakshmana Temple. Now, the Lakshmana Temple, this particular temple at Lakshmana, was dedicated to Vishnu. Okay. So here you can see the front of it, and you can see what I'm talking about, how it looks very cave-like, okay, as you're supposed to walk in. And again, it's not meant for congregational worship. It's only meant for a few or individual worshipers, okay? And you can also see the femininity of it and the masculinity of the whole thing, okay? So again, it represents a duality, a balance of things: masculine, feminine, human, divine, and you worship Vishnu here. Okay. It is in the Nagara style. It is placed in a high pedestal. It is meant to. It is made of sandstone, and it is using that horror vacui. You are meant to circumambulate, before you walk inside. Okay. Ashlar masonry just means that it's big. It's like these big chunky stones. Okay. It does sit on an east-west axis with the rising and the setting sun. So it is meant to do that. And it is part of one of 20 temples on this site. So it's not the only temple here in Khajuraho. It is one of many temples on this site. Okay, there is going to be some erotic sculpture here, some loving couples. Okay, and again, that's a part of achieving the divine union and breaking the wheel of reincarnation. So just keep that in the back of your head. So here's some more context for you. Now, in the back of your mind, how does this compare with something like Santa Sabina, a Christian church? How does it compare with a mosque? All right. How does it compare with Karnak? There's a whole bunch of other religious buildings that we've looked at so far. And how does this one compare? Okay. Now here, AP wants us to, so that's why we're including it. It's part of the statues, and it's one of the amorous couples that we're going to see at the Lakshmana Temple site. Okay. So they are embracing, they are kissing, and here we go. Samsara, the breaking of the wheel of reincarnation, the union of the human and the divine. Okay? And again, it's fecundity, fertility, rebirth. That's what it's about. But if you take a look and you go back and you see the curvy, sinuous lines, and that's kind of a hallmark of Hindu sculpture. All right. So again, the amorous couple is not meant to be provocative. It's not meant to be dirty. It's meant to serve a ritual and symbolic function, and to remind you of the aspiration of achieving samsara and union with the divine. Okay. And the last thing that they want us to see is the guardian figure, this lion guardian, and then this figure that's leaning up against it. So outside one of the gates, or one of the entrances to one of the temples here, is this lion figure. And we've seen lion guardians before. We've seen them at the Sphinx. We've seen Lamassu. Okay, these statue guardians, we've seen them before. So this is not uniquely Hindu. This is uniquely human, to include a guardian. So much so that we still include lion statues even in our buildings today. In the 21st century, we'll still find lions at our entrances to different structures. Okay. Now, in Spanish Fork, we're going to have the Krishna Temple. Okay. And Krishna is an avatar, an incarnation of Vishnu. Occasionally, the Hindu gods will incarnate. They will be born as humans. And Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. So if you've ever had the chance to go, it's a really, really beautiful structure. It's stunningly beautiful. So if you get the chance to go, I highly recommend it. You've got these multi-lobed arches. You've got these great onion-shaped domes. And it's the site of the Color Festival every year. And every year I tell myself we're going to go, and every year I don't wind up going, but I would sure love to go. I think it'd be so cool. So that's down in Spanish Fork if you get the chance. Now, heading out from India, we're going to scooch over to Cambodia. Okay. And in Cambodia, we've got the Khmer. The Khmer are going to create the site of Angkor. Okay. And you've probably heard of it. And once you see the picture, you'll go, oh, yeah, that looks familiar. Angkor was an empire in medieval Cambodia. And it's going to be a city. It's going to be a city. It's going to be the largest city on the planet at the time of its construction. And it's going to have temple complex after temple complex. So the site of Angkor is very, very important and they're going to house millions of people when European cities are going to be housing many, many, many fewer, by hundreds of thousands fewer. Like, I think London at the time is like maybe 20 or 30,000 people at the time that this site is reaching several million people. So it's the largest city on the planet at the time. And they're going to create the largest religious complex on the planet here at Angkor. It is going to be dedicated. The Khmer are going to be Hindu for most of their history. And then towards the tail end, they're going to convert to Buddhism. Buddhism will travel there and they'll convert. Okay. Most of the Khmer kings are going to associate themselves with Shiva. Angkor Wat specifically is also dedicated, though, to Vishnu. So again, Angkor is very, very large. All right. Occupying in a space over 400 acres, or 4 times Vatican City. It's enormous. Okay. It's also a lot taller than it looks. It looks spread out, but it actually, and because of that spread, it kind of diminishes the verticality of it. Visually, it's a lot taller than it looks. So it's 213 feet tall. It's about 20 stories. It's a big building. Okay. Angkor Wat is going to be built in 30 years. Notre Dame is going to be built in 200 years, and Notre Dame is much, much smaller. Okay. Some more factoids about Angkor. So here is Cambodia over here in this region. Let me grab this guy here. So Cambodia is right here. Okay. And Angkor, including Angkor Wat and the city of Angkor Thom. Okay. Now it is again in Cambodia, and it is Hindu, and it's part of the Angkor dynasty. All right. 800 to 1400 CE. It's going to be made out of sandstone. So this is the structure. This structure right here, this is Angkor Wat. Now a Wat is a temple in Southeast Asia. Okay, so Angkor Wat again is a temple. You'll notice that Angkor is also an Axis Mundi site. So go ahead and file that away in your notes. Now you can see here that it is designed to represent the cosmos. It is designed to represent the sacred mountains, the homes of the gods. It is designed with, let me grab the pointer here. It is designed with different, very large bas-relief sculptures on its walls. Okay, so the battle of the demons and the gods. All right, and the churning of the sea of milk. We're going to come back to this one. All right, so Angkor Thom is a city. Angkor Wat is just a temple complex on the larger site of Angkor. Okay, so this is a massive, massive complex. I cannot overstate its size. So please go ahead and give these guys a watch. They will make your life a little bit easier in understanding. Okay. the size and the scope of Angkor. Okay, they're going to be built by Suryavarman II, and in part, okay, they're going to be added onto through the years. It is going to mix Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. Mostly they're going to be Hindu, but again, at the tail end, we're going to be getting Buddhist iconography. Most of it's going to be, or Angkor Wat is going to be dedicated to Vishnu. All right. Whew. Gosh, let's get rid of you. Let's grab this guy. So, again, 400 kilometers square. All right. Angkor Wat is the temple complex. Angkor Thom is the city. Temples, monuments, hydraulic structures, which means they're going to channel water. They're going to be masters at channeling water, and it's extremely precise, which is why it's easy to fall apart. Dedicated to Vishnu, the preserver. Okay. It is going to have the 5 stone towers that mimic Mount Meru, the home of the gods in Hinduism. Okay. It's going to have those core-belled domes, just like we've seen previously. Again, dedicated to Vishnu. All right. This is going to become, Angkor is going to become very, very important, and it's even on the Cambodian national flag to this day. All right. It is very, very important to them. Again, Suryavarman is going to help build this site. Now, this relief sculpture is the churning of the the churning of the ocean of milk. What's going to happen is, and there's a video that explains this if you want to watch the video. The gods are going to want to achieve immortality. So they go to Vishnu and ask him for help. How do we become immortal? The problem is they're always fighting with the demons. And they engage in these long, epic wars with the demons, and they each want to gain the upper hand over the other. And so they want to gain immortality. How do you do this? So they go to Vishnu, and they're like, okay. And Vishnu tells them, look, here's what you got to do. You got to churn the sea of the ocean of milk. And so what happens is they take a giant snake and wrap it around this giant mountain, and they put the mountain on top of Vishnu is going to incarnate as a giant sea turtle, and they're going to place the mountain on top of the sea turtle. And here you can see the sea turtle underneath the ocean and the mountain, and they're going to wrap the snake around it, and they're going to pull back and forth. Now, Vishnu tells them, if you're going to do this, you got to cooperate with the demons. So the demons don't want to grab the tail end. They think that's beneath them. So they grab the head end of the snake, and the gods grab the tail end of the snake, and they churn and they pull, and various and sundry things are going to pop out of this as this ocean of milk froths and bubbles, and various gods are going to pop out, and various like the wish-giving cow and the beautiful gems, and eventually the nectar of immortality is going to pop out of this ocean. Go ahead and give the video a watch. It'll give you some more details. Okay, so it is a Hindu story, and it's one of the decorations here at Angkor, okay, that's on the wall. And here is a gate to the city of Angkor Thom, and you can see that it's got the faces above the corbelled arch, that triangle-shaped arch, and we've got the corbelled domes on top of those faces. Now, Angkor Thom here is going to be this portion here is going to be built by Jayavarman VII, and he's going to depict himself as Buddha. Okay, and he's going to be one of the tail end rulers here at Angkor, and he's going to go on this building spree that's unmatched. He's going to outbuild everyone that's ever built at Angkor, and kind of use up a lot of resources in the process. But here he's going to be depicting himself as the Buddha. here on these giant stones in Angkor Thom. Okay, so go ahead and give these, I mean, just a massive, massive empire. And their main trading partner is China, which is just up above. And yeah, it's really, really great human history. So go ahead and give these a watch. Okay, so again, Jayavarman the Seventh is going to be the patron of Angkor Thom, and he is portraying himself as the Buddha. Okay, he does reign for a long, long time. Right. This is Senor Wells. He got to go to Angkor and a buddy. All right, there's Senor Wells and Angkor Wat in the background. So these are our pieces. Okay, how do they reflect a belief in Hinduism? We've got Shiva Nataraja, we've got the Lakshmana Temple, and we've got Angkor Wat, including the city of Angkor Thom. Okay, so this is Hinduism. Go back and watch those video clips. It'll make all the difference for you. Okay, and that is it for today. And this wraps up our trip through Central and Western Asia. The tests will be posted, so you can go ahead and just take those. They're going to be due in 2 weeks. So then from there we're going to be moving on. Next time we'll be starting South and East Asia and continue our world tour. That's it for today, Cherubs. Thanks for playing. Have a wonderful evening.